welcome to another edition of VoiceCon Videos. My name is Eric Kraft. I'm the program co-chairman of the VoiceCon events, and I'm also the editor of NoJitter.com, the editorial website for VoiceCon. I'm here with my program co-chairman for VoiceCon, Fred Knight, who's also the general manager for VoiceCon. And we're going to bring you up to date on the VoiceCon San Francisco event, the week of November 10th at the Moscone Center in San Francisco. Fred, we've got some keynote names to announce, as well as some new tutorials and new program items, and of course plenty of exhibitors. So let's start with keynotes.
We're delighted that we've got such a strong and broad group of companies that are going to be represented on the VoiceCon keynote stage. On Tuesday, November 11th, we'll open with Karen Mishima, who is the Senior Vice President for Strategy and Technology with Avaya, followed by Kim Akers, who is General Manager within Microsoft's Unified Communications group. On Wednesday, we'll lead off with a keynote from IBM given by Bruce Morse, who's the General Manager of their Unified Communications and Collaborations group. That'll be followed by a customer keynote. We're still awaiting the details on that. Then on Wednesday afternoon, we'll have a roundtable with 4 or 5 enterprise executives. These are men and women from companies who have experienced the migration to IP telephony and unified communications. They'll be sharing their experiences, what's worked, what hasn't, and the lessons learned. And then on Thursday morning, 2 VoiceCon summits. The first will deal with the migration to software-based architectures and unified communications, followed by another VoiceCon summit focusing on the mobile enterprise, and in particular, what IP telephony and unified communications can bring to that migration.
Well, in the sessions you talked about, unified communications came up, but that's going to be a big focus of the show, as it's been the last several years now.
That's right. Essentially, VoiceCon is about 2 fundamental questions: helping enterprise executives select and build the communications platform that's right for them, and essentially in today's world, that means IP telephony. Our latest numbers show that no more than about 15 or 18% of U.S. enterprises have really completed their migration. So we have quite a few sessions dealing with how you go about preparing RFPs, how you think about total cost of ownership, what network management and the like. And as you mentioned, for the past couple of years, unified communications has been high on the agenda, because that really brings into focus the second question, key question, that VoiceCon is intended to answer, and that's how to best leverage that platform. And unified communications is kind of the first wave of what those next generation applications, capabilities, and uses will be.
And you mentioned some sessions around RFPs, around business cases, TCO, that kind of thing, and a lot of that's coming in with some of the new tutorials that we're going to be doing at VoiceCon. Alan Selkins is going to be giving a tutorial on kind of how to write the RFP that you're going to put out for IP telephony, and for some of the capabilities that you'll need to build on top of the IP telephony. And we've also got a few other new tutorials from both some familiar faces at VoiceCon, as well as some people who are giving tutorials for the first time.
Well, that's right. One of the key focuses at VoiceCon San Francisco 08 is really going to be on cost containment, cost control. Everybody's aware of the current economic climate, and everybody's also quite aware of the fact that communications, the requirement for communications doesn't ebb and flow with the business cycle. So the key question is, how in the heck do you spend your money most wisely? To that end, we're working with Numerity's research Erwin Lazar, and is going to be joined in one of our new tutorials by his colleague Robin Garris. The focus of their tutorial is really how to build business cases in this day and age. Numerities have data from 800 or 900 enterprises in terms of how they went about it, what the business case was. And so their tutorial is really on how to go about building the business case. A third new tutorial is being delivered by Marty Parker. I believe the title is Unified Communication, Who's Offering What? There are many different technologies that are lumped under the rubric of unified communications. And Marty is going to give essentially an overview of, in the summer of 2008, who is offering what within unified communications. I believe he is surveying some 10 or 11 vendors. We'll have if you will, a taxonomy of all of the different offerings, where they're similar, where they're different, and provide pricing information as well. And then there's a brand new two-part tutorial that focuses on what the communications function can do to reduce energy cost. Part one will be on what you can do to reduce the IT organization's use of energy, how to save the energy bill within the IT department. And then the second part will deal with video, teleworking, and collaboration, and address the question of what can IT provide the rest of the organization so that the entire organization is reducing energy costs while maximizing their use of modern communications technologies and services.
And the first of those two is going to be given by Gary Auden, who's done quite a lot of writing on No Jitter about how the way the physical plant changes with IP telephony, how that kind of ripples back into the use of energy and the way that wiring closets are deployed and the kind of equipment that goes into them, and how that may increase your demands for cooling, air conditioning, venting. And then the second half is going to be covered by John Bartlett, a vice president with Net Forecast, which is a consultancy that specializes in wide area performance management and wide area networking. And so John has got a format that I think is going to be real interesting. He's doing some like scenarios of different.
That's right. He's taking different types of organizations and different slices of organizations and building models around what video, teleworking, and collaboration tools match up best against. I believe there's 4 of those slices: the global enterprise, the large enterprise, the road warrior, and I'm blocking on what the 4th one is. But the point is, rather than just talk about video as if it were a one-size-fits-all situation or collaboration, through John's work with enterprises both within the United States and around the world, he's developed models that fit different requirement scales, and I think it'll be quite useful. Since VoiceCon Orlando in March, we've seen a number of major transitions that the major vendors have gone through. Avaya's had to have a transition in its leadership ranks. We've seen Siemens Enterprise Communications get sold, and Alcatel-Lucent announced that it is in the process now of replacing its senior management. It is clear that the communications industry, the transition that it's going through, is far from complete. And VoiceCon San Francisco will be the first place where what's happened over the past few months, where the industry can gather, assess what's going on, handicap the race, and present what are some likely scenarios. VoiceCon has always been the place where new technology and emerging technology in the enterprise communication field are showcased. It's where they make their debuts, and we're confident that that's going to be the case again in San Francisco in November.
And that's November 10th through the 13th at the Moscone North Convention Center in San Francisco.